In 2018, the dismembered human part of an 18-year-old Italian woman was found in a suitcase on the streets of Italy. This gruesome discovery would lead the police to a Nigerian immigrant named Innocent Osaghele, who would be later arrested, tried, and found guilty of murder. At the time when this story broke out in 2018, it led to a massive hatred of African foreigners in Italy. Many Italians spilled hatred on a lot of immigrants and black foreigners, all because a Nigerian man killed one of their own. But what really happened? Why and how did Innocent Osaghele kill this young girl to the point he had to butcher her body, dismember them, and dispose of them in 2 briefcases? What on earth was he even thinking? In 2014, Innocent Osaghele was a young Nigerian who migrated to Italy. He was there under some refugee pass and was under some kind of assistance program. However, he left the program and began dealing in drugs. He began selling illegal drugs with some drug dealers who were already active on the streets of Macerata in Italy. At this time still, he had an expired residency permit, which meant that he was now living in Italy illegally. Now, the young lady who was killed was known as Pamela Mastropietro. As a teenager, Pamela was already wild. It was said she dated some kind of high school boyfriend or high school love who introduced her into taking hard drugs, and as a teenager, she steadily and quickly became addicted. By the time she was 18, she was fully addicted to drugs. Her parents tried everything to stop her, even finding a way to destroy her relationship with the drug addict. But it's not clear if she ever stopped dating her drug-addicted boyfriend. Eventually, her family sent her to rehab where she was being treated for addiction in Macerata, Italy. So it's not clear where Pamela was at the time before she was brought to Macerata for the rehab. But when she got to Macerata, it was said she was in rehab for a while. Eventually, she found a way to escape out of the facility into the streets of Macerata, where she began looking for drugs. On the 29th of January 2018 was the day she went missing from the facility. By this time, she was already on the streets looking for the best drug dealer, and eventually she met a few people who directed her to a Nigerian named Innocent Osaghele. It's not clear if she knew him by his name. I don't think these drug addicts really care about the names. So when Pamela met Innocent, it was said she bought heroin and some other drugs from him. And that was the last time anyone saw her alive, at least. However, 2 days later, on the 31st of January 2018, the police in Macerata discovered a butchered and dismembered body of a young female inside 2 different suitcases on the streets of Macerata. And knowing that Pamela had gone missing and it was all over their radar and they were already looking for her, they were able to identify the body parts to be that of Pamela. And I guess her family helped the police identify the body parts to be that of their child. And now it has turned from a missing person case to an homicide case. The police are now looking for a suspect, and they began their investigation, talking to people who they knew Pamela would most likely come in contact with, knowing she is a drug addict. The police were able to speak to some notable drug dealers who remembered Pamela and who remembered directing Pamela to a Nigerian immigrant. Instantly, they burst into Innocent Osaghele's house, where they found Pamela's clothes stained in blood. And that was how Innocent was immediately arrested as a prime suspect in the murder investigation. At the initial time, Innocent denied killing Pamela, and he claimed she died of an overdose heroin in his house, and that the only thing he did was cut her body into pieces and dispose of it in the bags. But the people persecuting him did not believe him. The persecutors did not believe he was telling the truth. I mean, it would have made sense, or it would have been believable. There is a chance that, yes, since she's a drug addict, she might have overdosed, citing that she had run out of a rehabilitation center and might be so in need of drugs that she had to consume it in large quantity, possibly because she hadn't had some for a very long time. And that could possibly have led to her death. And I can imagine Innocent being scared. That is, if she had indeed died of an overdose. What would he have said? What would he have done? Who would have actually believed that he did not have a hand in the death of this young white female, saying that he is an immigrant black man from Africa? We've seen cases where a lot of people act irrationally when someone accidentally dies in their property or in their home. Ironically, we have done a movie with a similar story like this, where a young girl dies in the house of a young boy, and the fear that people may not believe that she died naturally or accidentally, then they are forced to do something irrational. And when they are caught in that irrational act of trying to get rid of the body, no one automatically believes that they did not have a hand in their death. So, yes, it's believable that Innocent would say that Pamela had already died when he caught her body, out of fear that no one would believe the black man that he did not have a hand in the white woman's death. But like I already said, the prosecutors did not believe Innocent's claim that he did not kill her. And so they conducted an autopsy on Pamela's body, which showed that she had died of stab wounds to her stomach, and that she was alive before Innocent began cutting her into pieces. It was also alleged that he may have had help in disposing of her body, which meant that they believed he wasn't the only one involved in the killing of Pamela, but I don't think they were able to prove that. Obviously, the news went everywhere, and a lot of Italians retaliated by treating a lot of African immigrants unruly and with such hatred and disdain, saying that one of them had killed one of their own. A young white girl, for that matter. Like, it's probably one of the worst things an African could do in a white man's land, hurting their women. A lengthy trial began, and somewhere around May 2019, Innocent was found guilty of selling drugs, detaining and raping and killing, along with dismembering of Pamela's body, and he was eventually sentenced to life in prison. So in January of 2023, it was said that Innocent appealed the sentence, citing that he did not rape Pamela. And if that was looked into and it turned out to be true, he might get a lesser punishment, from a life sentence to 30 years in prison. But Pamela's family did not want to hear any of that. They revolted. A lot of people protested. They saw this as a way of Innocent to come out of prison sooner than later, because if they are able to prove that he did not rape this young woman, he will get 30 years like we've said, and then if he behaves well in prison, he will be out of jail in the next 20 years. And that was what the family were avoiding, and they fought back at his appeal. And for what is what, the family did win that fight. Innocent's appeal was thrown away, and the court concluded that he did rape the young girl before killing her, and so he would have to continue his life sentence. Personally, for me, when I did hear about this case, I had a lot of thinking. My first thought was, yes, I understood the possibility that Innocent might have been scared if this young girl had overdosed in his house. And I also wondered, why would Innocent want to kill this girl, saying that he needed the money to get by as a drug dealer? So she was a client who could keep bringing money for him so that he could keep selling drugs to her. It did not make sense to me that he would want to kill her, even to the point of dismembering her body to hide it in briefcases. That was a stretch. So when I did hear that, yes, Innocent did say that she died of overdose, I believed it in a way, because yes, that happens more often than we know of. But on the flip side, Pamela was a young 18-year-old girl who was naive, helpless, and literally an addict. It is very possible that someone like Innocent would want to take advantage of her, because as a drug addict, I don't know why she was in his house. I don't know how she got there. I'm sure Innocent may have lured her there in order to sell drugs, and seeing that she ran away from rehab, she probably might not know anywhere in Maserata to stay, and so she may have stayed in Innocent's house. If Innocent was a smart person who did not want any trouble, he would not have let her stay in his house. He would have sold the drugs to her and let her go. But the fact that Innocent let this girl into his home and allowed her stay there, and if his claims that she got overdosed and died, then I would understand if anyone would blame him, because honestly, it's a very dumb decision to allow an 18-year-old in your house that you did not know, or because you're selling drugs. How many drug dealers allow their clients into their home to do the drugs? I wouldn't know though, but I don't imagine that that is the case for a lot of them. At the same time too, it's hard not to see what or how race can play a role in the persecution. Is it possible that she may have actually died of overdose, but citing that this is an immigrant and this is an Italian white woman? Is it possible that yes, they had to find a way to punish him regardless. It's very possible, but when you look at the case, all odds are against Innocent at this point. There is no way you can see a shining light for him. It's just bad for him, and there is no way around it. Even when he appealed that he did not force himself on this girl, how then would they know? That means they would have to exhume her body parts that you had already butchered like a piece of meat. So it would have been hard to even prove that he did not do it. So I don't know why he tried to appeal it, because that would have been difficult for him to prove, frankly speaking. Clearly, it makes sense that if a young girl is in your care and she's high and she's on drugs, you would have taken advantage of the girl, and it's very possible that he may have done so. Pamela was young, good looking, vulnerable, naive, and just at his mercy. He would have sensed trouble the moment he saw her, and he had enough time to avoid it, but he did not avoid it. Instead, he saw trouble and let trouble into his home, and now he would have to face the music like he's already doing. So that is my take. That is how I see it. Do I think he's guilty? I believe so. I believe he did everything that he was accused of. But yes, there is still a tiny little chance of possibility in my imagination that he may have actually died of an overdose, and that was why he did what he had to do, because he knew nobody would believe him. And citing his rash decision, I don't blame the police for, or I don't blame the prosecutors for charging him with all the crimes that they said he did. So that is it with the story of Innocent Osaghele. You guys let me know what you think. Do you think Innocent was telling the truth when he said she passed of an overdose in his house and he had to do it because he was afraid that people would not believe him? Or do you believe the prosecutors that he deliberately put this girl in his house, took advantage of her, forced himself on her, and then killed her because he knew she might tell when she comes out or when she wakes up, and he would even be in bigger trouble? Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. You can also turn on the notification button, so should there be any future videos, you'll be the first to get notified. Thank you guys for watching.